Okay, so today we're going to be working on a 2009 Chevy Silverado 2500 heavy duty. We're going to be removing the gearbox, which is all the way down there. I'm going to try to do a step-by-step video on the easiest way to take it out. I have changed this gearbox already, so it's going to be fairly simple to take out, I believe. But yeah, let's get into it. Obviously, step one is remove your wheel. You guys are going to have a cover here. This was already taken off, but it's just a couple of push panels. It's easy to access. First thing we're going to do, you have an intercooler piping right here. That's kind of in the way. The gearbox, as you can see, is right here, these two lines. And you have your steering shaft that goes into it. We're going to go ahead and remove this intake pipe. It should be, looks like maybe an 11 millimeter, and then up top here probably just a 10, so we'll go ahead and take that off and go from there. Okay, the intercooler piping is off. It's easier to pull it out from up top. Now you can see the gearbox right here. You'll have these two lines that go into it. I'm probably going to take those out first, because typically these are the ones that break pretty easy depending on what area your truck is in. And then you have one bolt here on top of the steering shaft. I believe it's an 11 millimeter. You're just gonna go ahead and remove those two, get those out of the way, and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, so both the lines are out. They're both 18 millimeter. I do recommend using a line wrench though. This is all I had, unfortunately. Sometimes these lines will break. They do get rusty and snap easy. The other bolt holding the steering column shaft, like I said, it's an 11 millimeter. You should be able to slide that off. This was already changed. The OEM one does not slide off pretty easy like that. You might struggle a little bit getting that off at first. You might have to disconnect it up here. Just play with it a little bit. It will slide off eventually. The next step now, we're going to remove the sway bar link right here and the bushing bracket right here. It will give us a little more space, and then we'll be able to access the steering gearbox underneath here. Okay, we got the sway bar link end off now, and we got the bracket off for the sway bar. It's two 10 millimeter bolts holding that. Now we're gonna take off this cotter pin back here on this pitman arm. We're gonna take that nut off. I believe it is a 21 millimeter, and then we'll move to the next step. Okay, so once you get that nut off, it is a 22 millimeter. I just use this ratchet with the extension here. You have to separate the pitman arm from the steering components. What I did, I just put this pry bar in here, gave it a couple of hits with a hammer, and then it eventually knocked down loose. It is easier to use a pickle fork. Depends on what tools you're accessible to, but that's what I had to do. Right now, the next step we're gonna do is remove this plate down here. It has 4 bolts. We'll take that off, and we should have access to our gearbox, which is right there. Okay, once you have that plate off, it's just 4 15 millimeter bolts. There's your gearbox. Now, essentially, all you have to do is take these 3 bolts out. It is a 21 millimeter. And that should free up the gearbox, and you should be able to slide it out from the underside right here. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll show you when it's out. Those are the 3 bolts holding your gearbox in, and then here's the gearbox. If you do change the gearbox though, you might have, depending on if you buy a new pitman arm, this pitman arm, you just have to take that nut off, but you're gonna have to use a puller to get it off. It's not too hard, but that's it. Obviously, it's just the same procedure to put it back in, is fit it right back up there and put your lines on, put everything you took off back together, and that's all.